Alright, welcome back. Now on the second video, we talked in the last video about research question, developing a research question. And so now once you have your research question, which will be part of your assignment this week, once you develop a little bit more specific research question, then we're going to go into the research process, which is what we're going to talk about right now. So in the research process, you first start off is, now that we have this question, you have the next the task of coming up with a literature review. So how do you find literature? That will be your next assignment. So right now, this week we're doing the research question. I think next week or the following week, you'll be turning in annotated bibliography, which is kind of the beginning of your literature review. Like you're gonna start finding sources. So in order to find sources, we're gonna have to develop some keywords that come from your research question, right? So if you look at your research question, part of the reason why I have you write your independent variable and your dependent variable is because those variables are your first two keywords that you're going to put into like Google Scholar or into a search engine that will help you find some research articles. Okay, so what you can use those two, your independent and dependent variable, and some other words that are within your research question that are similar to your topic so that you can find articles on it. So for example, if you're interested in immigration, you may look at this research question. So look, how do immigration rights movement organizations mitigate arrest, deportation rates, and unauthorized migrants? So in that one, you'd probably look up immigration rights, movement organizations, deportation rates, you know what I mean? Migrants, unauthorized migrants, or illegal immigrants, things like that. Those might be some keywords that you use to put into a search engine. Okay, so now that you have these keywords, let's look at some examples, right? So what you'll do is there are different places, and I'll show you. You can go on Google Scholar, so you can go just write Scholar or Google Scholar. That's the one I typically use, but this right here is also from the school website. So let me just pull it up to show you an example. Okay, so kind of showing you it right here. So if we go to libraries, UNL, just gonna type that in. It should come up right here. Search our catalogs, right? I don't know why that's taking so long. So right here, if you search in the catalogs right there, you can look at different catalogs and you can just type in, immigration, and it will show you all the sources that it has on here. You may have to look up different databases, but in other classes you do the same. So right, you see these different ones. One that I usually go straight to is I go to Google Scholar. So it's scholar.google.com. And that's usually one I do. I go to that and I write it. So we'll go over that in a little bit more on this slide, but let's get back to it. Um, so right there, you're going to go into your search engine. You're going to type in some of those keywords that you brought up, and there we go. I knew I had it on this slide. So go to Google Scholar. That's the one I just showed you on there. This is a great one. That's usually the first one I go to. Immigration and social movements, right? You write in those keywords, and a lot of different articles will come up. So this is the search engine from the school and the libraries. You can choose databases. You can go there. You can go to Google Scholar, or to the libraries. Okay, you go to those different ones, and what you do is you want to find you want to find journal articles. So the best ones to do is to go to, as you'll see, you have annual reviews, Google Scholar, or sociological abstracts. And if you write in those keywords, a lot of different articles will come up, and that is where you will find more of your research. That's where you find out what do we know about this topic. Does that make sense? So annual reviews is a great one. Like if you're interested in academic achievement, and you go into annual reviews, you write academic achievement, it'll do a literature review of that topic, and so it will literally give you all the resources on it, and somebody will talk about it in that, and you'll be able to find the different fields in it. So if you find one good article from annual reviews, that article will have like references, and it'll talk about everything that you're interested in, so that article essentially does your job. Does that make sense? And it's always best to try to find the more recent one, but if you can't, then try to use one within the last 20 years. But if you find something in the last 10 years, that's great. Okay, so yes, there's a lot of keywords. I love my man Homer right here. Keywords are everywhere, and that's the truth. When it comes to keywords for your research questions, there are a lot of you want to think of all the different keywords that you could use that could help get to the topic that you're interested in. Right, so these will help you find the right ones. So what might be some keywords for the following research question? What are the racial differences in educational attainment based on neighborhood context? So you might want to put you'll put education attainment, neighborhood education, race in education. You'll put those kind of keywords in there, right? So you go to your sociological abstracts, or you go to Google Scholar, or you go to any of these ones that we've shown on here, and you put in that. So race and education. So right here we put race and education in these topics. All these articles will come up. Then you look at these titles of these articles, you can push on it and look at the abstract real quickly to see what you like. I like to go to sociological abstracts because you go there, you write in race and education, you put in, your independent and dependent variable that you're going to write, you put those in, and it will bring up all the, it'll bring up the abstract. So you just go and you look at the abstract and you can read one paragraph and be like, yep, that is what I want. Or it is, or it isn't. You go to the next one. But once you find that article, then you can look in the references in that article, and that's great. So we'll do some more stuff. We'll show you. Okay, so kind of just same thing, just showing you how to look at sociological abstracts. So now let's say you do that and you find one good article that has all the topics that you're interested in. You're like, great, it's an abstract. You want to make sure you copy down the citation. Is the title interesting? Does it look like it addresses your research question? And then does it describe the literature? Does it directly answer your question or part of it? What kind of method does it use? What are the findings? And if it actually asks the same question, answers the same question as you, don't panic. That means you can change your research question. You can look at it and say, well, they found that race does impact in education, when it comes to attainment. So maybe I can look at race and gender when it comes to that, right? Or maybe I can look at race in Nebraska or in the Midwest during the 90s or this. Does that make sense? So if they already answered, then you just go you maybe look at a different place or time. Does that make sense? You just make it a little bit more specific that you can use that article to help you. Okay? So sometimes if you get to an article, it'll ask you to pay for it. Don't pay for it. You can get those easily. You can bypass it by going, most of the articles are open up to you. So if you remember, like anytime you pay student fees, that goes to this. Like this opens up everything. So if you go to UNL Libraries and type in there, all those articles that comes up are free. You go to Google Scholar, it will usually show you the articles that you can download. If not, if you can't, just go find another one. But if you absolutely find an article you want and you can't get it and it's asking you to pay, then you can just go to Interlibrary Loan, and it will deliver it to you. If you have questions about that, you can email me and I'll help you more with that. So this just goes over how you can do an Interlibrary Loan and how it gets delivered and how they let you know. Okay? But now, once you have a good article, you have a good reference to find your other articles. So when you do annotated bibliography, you're going to do about 7 to 8 sources. If you find one good article, all the sources might be in that article in its references, and it might even talk about it in its literature review. Does that make sense? So pay attention to it and follow citation chains. I'm going to show you how to follow a citation chain in this. So say we go to Google Scholar. This right here is from Google Scholar. I like to use Google Scholar. So I type in, gay rights and state. And we come up with this article right here. And you find this article and you're like, oh, this is a great article. You look at the abstract and you find, oh, this answers my research question. It goes in and everything. What you want to do is, you see that arrow, you look at where it says cited by. If you push on cited by, you see it'll come up with all these on the right, these other articles that cite that same article. So this is kind of showing, once this article, this is all the ones in the future that use it. And if you go into the article and you look at the references, you can look at all the past references it used. So you use the references in that article, and then you can look at articles that cite that one, and they will usually have similar topics, and you can pick those and you can use those sources. So follow the citation chain, okay? Or you can look on the author. You might notice that if you're doing an annual review, that there's one author that's mentioned a lot. You can look up that author, and you look them up in Google Scholar. You can push on their name, and it'll show all the articles, and you can look at their articles too, because a lot of authors write about the same topic. Or you can go to specific journals, right? So if you're interested in mobility, or sexuality or political behavior, there are specific journals for those, and they just have articles on those. Okay, so there are some specific journals you can go to, right? So when it comes to source choice, number one, you always want to have ones that are peer-reviewed, so research articles, academic books, or edited volumes. You can even use government reports, but and those are good. They're not peer-reviewed, but those are good that you can use in source. So .gov kind of reports, those are good. But news articles and magazines, like, you'll use those very sparingly, maybe one or two, but don't use 8, or don't use more than 2, because those are not reliable sources. Those are often just opinions and not good data sources. So use good sources. Okay. Well, that's the end of this video. Sorry if I went a little bit longer, but that is the process of doing research, like using research articles. So that's why your research question and the independent and dependent variables are important, because you use those as keywords to help you find resources, because that's going to be the next assignment, is doing your annotated bibliography. And this video kind of helps you find out how to find those articles. All right, we'll see you in the next video, which will go over research design and we'll talk about annotated bibliography.